Hello and welcome to the Vandy 24/7 podcast. Apologies for being a little late getting started this morning, but thank you guys for joining us live. I'm Chris Lee, joined by Luke Wyatt. Of course, Vandy 24/7 presented by FanDuel, also presented by, at least for football season, our friends at Bullivus Wealth Management, and specifically former Vanderbilt kicker Joe Bullivus with Bullivus Wealth Management of Raymond James. If there's one thing we all share, it's that our lives are all unique. And Raymond James, we believe that's worth celebrating because financial planning isn't just about numbers and figures. It's about creating a life you envision. Whether you're building a future or preparing for retirement, a Raymond James financial advisor can guide you each step of the way, all while following a plan that's uniquely yours. That's life well planned. To learn more, call financial advisor Joe Bullivus with Bullivus Wealth Management of Raymond James at 615-645-6742. Raymond James and Associates, members of New York Stock Exchange, SIPC. We are brought to you in terms of our basketball coverage by the Wash House. Commodore fans, don't waste your weekend stuck doing laundry when you could be cheering on the doors. At the Wash House Laundry Center, we've got your back with our brand new pickup and delivery service. We'll wash it, fold it, pick it up, drop it back off, fresh, clean, and game day ready. Perfect for busy students, fans, and Nashville families on the go. Schedule your pickup now at washhouseclean.com and anchor down with the Wash House Laundry Center. Looking for a sponsor for baseball season? Boy, we could really use one. If you're interested, chrislee70@gmail.com. Let me know if you'd like a hand in that. Luke Wyatt, welcome to the show. Lots to talk about. We've got, I guess, it looks like a pending contract extension for Clark Lea. That's the private belief. It's not been reported yet that I know, but we'll wait and see where that goes. We've got college football rankings. Vanderbilt checks in at 14 after last night. And we've got basketball to talk about too, perhaps. So where would you like to go today?
Yeah, let's when we can talk about the contract, if you'd like first. I feel like it's imminent. I think you'll see something in the next couple of days where it'll come out publicly. There's still some I's to be dotted and some T's to be crossed, as always, and you hope there's not a late sticking point. I don't think there's going to be. But I feel like we'll know something before we kick off against Kentucky.
The holdup, I think you think, is just facility stuff, right?
Yeah, just the minutia of, okay, and again, I'm no knowledge. I'm just throwing something out there. Let's say Clark wanted the seats, this new seating on the west stands to be done by 25 or 27. Yeah. They're saying, well, we can do it, but we'll do that in 28, stuff like that. It's just the details of it, of the minutia of it.
Are things like the weight room and practice facility, are those things settled? So we're looking at stadium stuff, or what's the deal here?
Weight room will happen. The new dining facility for the players will happen. That's already really in place. That's in the end zone. Those two I know are 100% going to be done before we tee it up next season. There's other things I think that will be done before we tee it up next season. I'll know a whole lot more once this season's over with. I'm going to spend some time over there, and I can probably find out a lot more than I know right now.
Okay, the weight room, where is that going to be?
Well, I don't know because the footprint right now, you don't have anywhere to go with it except up.
Yeah.
And you could do that. A lot of weight rooms that have two, I think ideally, we talked about the bubble possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe into that bubble area for practice on the practice field. A lot of weight rooms have open, like those garage door windows that open up like at Alabama, and they walk right out onto their practice field. That's ideal because even the guys that are injured or whatever and are in the weight room working out, they can still see out on the practice field and be kind of part of practice.
Yeah. I mean, those things were things that were supposed to be done and agreed to when he got here, right?
Well, when you say agreed to verbally or in written, look, I will say this, and unless Clark's lied to me, he's told me he's getting everything he's asked for, that he's got down. Now, whether that he may have to take an extra step to get that done, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
But, I think that has happened because there was a real snafu when we first started talking about facilities with the practice field situation.
Yeah.
And got that done. So, there's some things, it's funny. And I think about Hunter Yurachek, because he's a committee guy now. When Hunter was at Vanderbilt, he was the marketing guy. But you could see how sharp he was and how he was going to move ahead. He's the kind of guy that, as an athletic director, is very transparent. And he's still today. And I wish we had that now at Vanderbilt. But I guess I understand it. There's only certain things you can say. I just wish they'd be more forthright with the fan base.
Well, and I suspect that's why this has dragged on so long. It's okay, we want to trust you, but we've been there and done that before. And, he's sitting here with things that every other coach in the league and probably MTSU has.
Right. Well, I have in my garage, I have a lot of old collectibles and stuff that from my years at Vanderbilt. Three times there were blueprints drawn up for new locker rooms, equipment rooms, stadium enhancements, and all that. 3 times they were shot down. And that was during my 40 years around Vanderbilt. So it's not uncommon to Vanderbilt.
How much is funding an obstacle? Because at Vanderbilt, you've got to go out and raise the money for stuff and get certain commitments before projects get announced.
I think funding goes like this. I think you let's say you have a 18-month window where you want to have the money that you're trying to, the dollar amount that you're aiming for. I think what happens at Vanderbilt and probably at a lot of other places is, let's say you're wanting 100 million, you get to 75 million by donation here, donation there. And then when you get down to it, okay, what's the shortfall? We've got a go-to guy to fill in the blank. I think that's what happens.
Yeah. Names that people know.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I wonder. And like, this has been the thing we've said all along, like how, and you're seeing this with attendance right now. And I don't mean to start on a negative note, but it ties in. Just like how many people are left. Like it takes a while to build that base of people who will support you back. Now, Vanderbilt is in an unusual position where a lot of them are unbelievably wealthy. So there's that dynamic too. It just is a really bizarre thing, because you get one moment this notion that like, hey, funds are there for anything and everything. Money's no shortage. And then you get in these spots where we're looking up 6 years later and stuff's not done and things are vague, and well, we'll put this in writing and we'll think about that. And that's, in a way, a lot of things have changed. In a way, a lot of things haven't, it feels like.
Well, let me say this about fundraising. I can remember, and I'm going back to the 70s and 80s, the Music City industry was really involved in Vanderbilt athletics. You saw a lot of celebrities at Vanderbilt games, football and basketball, Jerry Reed, Barbara Mandrell, people that the young folks on here won't know who I'm talking about, but they were influential in the Nashville community. I think you're seeing that again. I think right now the music, and not just the Theo Von thing, but Reese Witherspoon, other people that haven't come around Vanderbilt because it hasn't been an excitement level that they're used to, are now coming forward. And I think there's some people in the music industry that's really pushing this thing forward.
So is it? I saw a picture of Reese Witherspoon on the field, and that was kind of an afterthought. Is that a thing now?
Yeah, Reese went to what's the school right across from MBA?
Harpeth Hall.
Yes, that's cool. She's got a connection to Vanderbilt, that's for sure. Vince Gill and Amy Grant have connections to Vanderbilt. Amy went to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
That's just, scratching the surface. There's a whole lot of people in the industry that are either, work for BMI and Tree Records and people like that have a ton of influence. And they're excited about Vanderbilt now. So they're finally thinking, okay, it's worth to maybe put our dollars there.
Yeah. I could have sworn I saw Vince Gill at a basketball game the other night.
Probably. I mean, he and Kevin Stallings are really close. Kevin Stallings and Rick Byrd played golf all the time.
Right.
And he's still, I think he likes what Byington's doing. So he's come. I think the previous coach, there was no connection there, obviously.
Yeah.
He didn't dress well enough for that.
That's another story. Yeah. So the contract thing, I know there's a big Zoom meeting with athletic director, a couple of campus personnel. Is that just a fundraising push, we think?
I think so, but and if it's formal, it could be formally announced there to give you a little extra kick for the Kentucky game. But
Yeah,
I think it's just the minutia of, is this contract signed yet? Everybody's everything. It's just getting down to, it's almost like when you buy a house. Well, there's still one other thing we'd like to do here. For agreement, and I think that's where we're at.
Well, you called this all along. There's been rumors for 2 weeks. Hey, the contract may come out tomorrow. And you were always like, I don't think it's going to be there. I think it's going to be. And again, I said this to me was a more ideal scenario given the challenges at Vanderbilt, because if you don't take – Clark will never have a better opportunity to push for stuff than he does right now.
I agree. And you have to put in the Jimmy Sexton factor. Jimmy's he's a shark, and he's hard to deal with. And, and listen, from the Vanderbilt perspective, I get it. It's you're not going to let some guy come in and push you around. So you have to wheel and deal, just like with anything else in life. And I understand that. I do. I get it.
All right, let's talk college football playoff ranking. Vanderbilt at 14. I wrote a long article on the site last night breaking down, I think, where it stands, what needs to happen, those sorts of things. People have been trying to simplify this for a while, like, hey, get to 10-2 and you're in and all. I just don't think that's applicable. It might be, and maybe that's how it plays out. There have been upsets every weekend, but what were your thoughts on seeing Vanderbilt at 14 and the poll in general?
I thought that's where they'd be. Now, let me ask you this, though, Chris, and let's go back to the first year. If I would told you we're 10-2 and our only losses were at Texas and at Alabama, you'd say playoff team, right?
Yes.
So with that being the case, the only factors now that Vanderbilt has to worry about, if they go 10-2 and say they have impressive wins over Tennessee and Kentucky, if that happens and we get to 10-2 and don't get in, I would think it's going to be not necessarily what else happens. Now, obviously, there's a few things have to happen. I get that, but if we're on the even line with several other teams and we get pushed below that, I think it's because of the size of the fan base and the eyeballs on the television. It always comes down to money.
Yeah, and you may be right about that. I'll give you a little bit of a counterpoint. Sometimes there's little things that 3 or 4 of them add up and affect your position. LSU is not the playoff team people thought. No, Vanderbilt had a lot to do with that. And sometimes I think that gets overlooked. Like, you beat a team, if you get 2 losses, you give a team a loss, you have a hand in knocking that team out of the playoff. LSU was also a different team when it came into Vanderbilt than it did then. I think Missouri is really, really good. Missouri did get ranked last night. I think that's a better win than people realize. I think the issue may be, Texas. It's good in a way that Texas has 3 losses. I think Texas is going to have a very hard time getting in now based on the way it played against Georgia and even some of the way it played in some of its wins. But, a loss to Texas, you're going before the season, they're preseason number 1. Well, they might not be a playoff team. Now, look, Vanderbilt's 2 losses, I think, still rank is good losses by comparison. Texas is in the playoff. Well, I guess they're not in the playoff without the Vanderbilt game, but Alabama, is in the playoff right now. You compare these losses to some other teams. The problem is that the wins, it's 2 things, like beating Auburn, beating LSU, beating Virginia Tech don't carry as much weight as we thought would have before the season. Same thing with beating South Carolina. Now, again, I don't think there's a bad teams, and this is where I think Vanderbilt and the SEC get penalized. We look too much at the record. You take South Carolina, you take LSU, you put them in the Big 12 or the ACC, what's the record? South Carolina might be 8-2.
Yeah.
I don't think people factor that in enough, but it is what it is. I think that the system is kind of rigged to favor a Big 12 or an ACC type environment where you can rip off 9, 10, 11 wins without being challenged most weeks. It feels like those are the teams that get favored in this, or like a Big 10 team that doesn't hit the tough part of the schedule. So I still think what the league was trying to address in the offseason, I'm not sure it was addressed. But the other part with Vanderbilt, like if strength of schedule is a thing, like I think just even some stuff like Georgia State being awful, like you just make them just mediocre, and that boosts your strength of schedule a little bit. When you're dealing with a bunch of things where the margins are thin, and the fractions of 4 or 5 things add up after a while, to me, I think that's a lot. That has a lot to do with Vanderbilt's position. Now, that's not all. I got more there, but I do think that plays a factor.
I guess the way I look at it is, okay, when we played Virginia Tech, they were supposed to be a good team.
Yeah.
Going into it.
Yeah.
When we played South Carolina, they were 11th in the nation.
Yeah.
That has to account for something because you have a lot to do with why they dropped.
Yes. Like it's not all or nothing.
Right.
Because if you go there, like, okay, well, you beat somebody early in the season, they weren't ranked. Well, they end up in the top 10. Was it a good win or not? I mean, there are nuance, and especially right now when coaches have one foot out the door and players have one foot out the door and injuries happen. I agree. I don't think it's all or nothing,
right.
But you do hear it justified in some cases, like you heard with Oregon and Penn State. And I don't think, by the way, that was unfair. But, if you're going to make it fair, make that applicable to Vanderbilt too.
Let me ask you this. How much would it have pushed the needle if South Carolina would have hung on and beaten Texas A&M?
It would have helped a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, they led the number 3 team in the country 30-3.
Look, this is the thing. This is where the SEC gets penalized. I'm going to just give this to you. I do, again, I kind of take power rankings, and it's a very good predictor, sometimes even to a half point, if you place Team A and Team B up and what's the line. Like it tracks extremely close with the lines. Now, sometimes it doesn't, under extenuating circumstances, like a team's piled up a record and then the key guy's hurt. But for the most part, this does an amazing job of predicting the lines. All right. Top 3 teams in the country: Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, which I think Oregon is a little bit underrated in this. Number 4, Texas Tech. Number 5, Notre Dame. So no SEC presence in the top 5. Then it goes Georgia, Alabama, Utah. Want to get to them in a minute. Texas A&M, Miami is your top 10. 11 to 15, Ole Miss, USC, Oklahoma, Texas, BYU. Then 16, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Iowa, Penn State, Missouri. That's your top 20, rounding out top 25, Michigan, Washington, LSU, Illinois, Florida State. But you've got Auburn sitting there at 27. Again, this is just how did you do? What are the margins of victory? What did the stat sheet look like? It's not your wins and losses, which matters, but when you're playing a brutal schedule, that should be accounted for. Florida in the SEC sitting here at 34. South Carolina at 37. Kentucky at 39. Arkansas at 40. Mississippi State at 47. I think that's the worst team in the league. So every team in the SEC is inside the top 50 in power rankings. Meanwhile, you got the Big 12 with the big presence around 45 to 55. Those are okay teams, but they're Mississippi State level teams. And that's what you're playing in the Big 12 every week, unless you're playing BYU, Utah, or Texas Tech. The dynamic, and even in the Big 10, okay, I'm going to go down a little bit. You've got Stanford is Boston College is at 95. You've got Stanford at 89. If you want to go okay, Stanford's ACC. They feel like they're Big 10, but they're ACC. This happens. The ACC is just trash. Syracuse at 86, Carolina at 85, Virginia Tech at 77, Cal at 76. That's what you're playing. That's how Virginia gets in the playoff picture.
Right.
And you can quantify everything to a degree, but I think what's hard to quantify is the meat grinder of playing teams like Vanderbilt and anybody in the SEC is playing week in and week out. Like, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Georgia. You take Arkansas lightly, you could get beat. Arkansas is a laughingstock of the league. It's 2-8. It's had 4 or 5 games decided by a field goal or less.
They
Yeah,
lost.
no, look, yeah.
They
Go ahead.
lost the stadium by one score at Knoxville.
Yeah.
And this is supposed to be a hard place to play. So, look, just to me, South Carolina's what in the league right now? 13th? Where are they in the pecking order?
I mean, I would argue 15.
If South Carolina's 15th and they play the number one team, A&M, and have a chance to beat them and lead them by 27 points, that just shows if you're not ready to play in the SEC, you lose.
Yeah.
You can sleepwalk through Purdue in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
You can sleepwalk through Boston College.
Yeah.
There's somebody, I forget who it was in the playoff picture, just beat Boston College in overtime last week.
Yeah, I think it was Georgia Tech. I don't think it went to overtime, but I think it was the last play of the game.
Field goal, excuse me.
And so, Georgia Tech or Virginia, one of them is probably going to get in just by winning a title with a crap schedule.
Yeah. I don't. To me, it should be. I've always said this. It should be the best teams. Well, I don't care if all 12 of them are from the SEC or all 12 are from the Big Ten. If that's the 12 best teams, that's who it should be.
Yeah, well, and this is where, again, this is a composite of 5 power rankings. Okay, it's Virginia's at 41 and Georgia Tech is at 35. Like, those teams are in the SEC. If that's indicative, those teams are going. They're 4-7 at this point.
Yep. No, I agree with you.
I get Utah's going to be the one that people are focused on, and I think part of it I agree with. Again, if you look at power rankings, Utah's a top 10 team, which again are used to set spreads a lot of times, or they're very closely in step with it. But at the same time, man, you start stacking up wins. I argued last night in a piece, Vanderbilt's got 4 better than anyone Utah's got, and I get losses to BYU and losses to Texas Tech. And you can debate whether those teams belong in the playoff. Well, maybe not Tech. I think Texas Tech probably belongs, but they're still good teams. They're top 25 type teams. So I'm not going to look down my nose at them, but like, where does accomplishment fit in with Utah? And Utah's last 2 games are going to be against what? They got 3. They got Kansas State. Again, they're in that pack of Big 12 teams. They're, toughest teams in the, they're probably in the range of 45 and 50 or where they rank nationally. So they're not a pushover.
Yeah.
But they don't excite you when you bag that as a win either. And the other one, I feel like they've got a 3rd game in here. Oh, Baylor, which Auburn, Vanderbilt beat. Auburn went to Baylor and handled it handily. And by the way, I got another point, but Arizona State, which made the rankings, and boy, I got an issue with that one. Played one SEC team. It was Mississippi State. They lost.
Well, they lost their quarterback too, correct?
Right. No, he played in that game.
Right. He's out for the year.
But yeah, like, see, that was the thing. If you'll let me skip ahead a little bit. If you're looking for chicanery, I can defend a lot of stuff. Again, you can argue, where does quality of team factor in? Where does like Notre Dame is going to be a whipping boy? A lot of it because people hate Notre Dame, and you can question Notre Dame's resume, but they're a top 5 team in every power ranking you look at, and beat USC, which is a good team. I have less issue with that. Utah just hasn't beaten anybody, and I felt like last night as I was watching the show, I couldn't believe Houston was in the rankings and Arizona State too. Guess who has wins over those teams?
Not sure.
That would be, let me double check this. That would be Utah. I'm sorry, wait, they don't play Houston. Or do they? Okay, Utah did beat Arizona State. Arizona State also handed Texas Tech its own loss. And BYU, let's see. Okay, well, maybe my argument does fall apart a little bit because BYU didn't play Houston and it didn't play Arizona State. But the point is, I think they have kind of given that league a little bit of undue propping up to maybe bolster your case for multiple Big Ten teams. That felt a little weird to me, especially with Utah's AD getting on the committee
The one argument for Utah is margin of victory. I don't know how much that weighs in, but they have pretty much blown out. So I give them that. You know, they're not winning by 3 and 7 points, are they? They're kind of handled their business very easily, I think.
Yeah. And look, Utah may deserve to be there. I get it, but there hasn't been a lot of proof of concept in big games. And when you're in the SEC and half your schedule is those games, you know, shouldn't that be required of if you're going to penalize Alabama down to 10 for losing a game with Oklahoma, is Utah at some point not accountable for not beating that type of team? And again, I've got nothing against Utah.
No.
I actually like a lot of the ways, thinking about the way they run the program. I think they're kind of perpetually underrated, but it feels like there's been the Big 12 is maybe gained the system just a little bit.
Going back to Vanderbilt for a minute, does the Diego Pavia thing weigh into it anything with the committee because of the popularity of the kid nationwide?
You mean in a good way or a bad way?
Or a bad way, yes.
I don't know. I mean, it's clear to me that there's people that cannot stand that kid because, man, if you want people coming for you, just tweet something about how good Diego Pavia was in a particular game. And it's the, you know, shouldn't be playing. And I mean, it's like nobody, there's a large portion of the population that is not willing to be fair to him. And
No.
I don't know if that bleeds over into, you know, committees like this or not, but it's a thing.
Well, and especially in the SEC, because here's what's happened. Now that Vanderbilt has had a season like this, and I'm not talking about a 7-6 like last year, people are kind of ticked off. You know, Vanderbilt used to be all the fan base get to run to Nashville and see a victory, and Vanderbilt was the whipping boy. Well, that's not the case anymore, and that ticks people off because now they're thinking, gosh, that's not an automatic win anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm automatically going to dislike that. I get that, and that's fine. But and the ones that say they don't like Diego, they really don't know him. You got to know him. Yeah, he's done some things outwardly that haven't been great, but who hasn't?
Well, and I'm speaking from a faith standpoint. I'll get theological here on you for a moment. Some people will get this, and some people won't. Like he's a fairly new Christian.
Yep.
And as I understand the Bible, you know, you're not the same guy at 23 or 24 that you are at 80. There's a process of maturity there that, you know.
Yeah.
So even some of the stuff, like there's some things that I haven't liked that I can understand because none of us are as mature at that age as we are later. So, sorry, I feel like I went on a diatribe there for a minute and kind of took over the show. I didn't mean to do that. What else is on your mind with a playoff?
Nothing. You know, again, I'm not really sweating it, and here's why. First of all, we've got 2 tough games to play, so it's going to be a tough hill to climb to go to Knoxville and win, and to win Saturday. I mean, Kentucky's playing as good as they've played all year.
Yeah.
But if we are a playoff team and we get to 10-2, I'll be disappointed if we don't make it. Don't get me wrong, but I'll be saying, hey, we did everything we could. We didn't leave anything except for maybe the couple of turnovers at Alabama, because you know, that's almost as good as you can get. It really is.
And if you know, a lot of the stuff is the probability. ESPN FPI has got them at 10%, but like to me, that's not the issue. The issue is like what happens if you win out, because a lot of that has been built in the fact that the system thinks they're going to lose a game.
Okay, and that's fair. But I mean, again, we'll know a whole heck of a lot more. I will say this, or let me ask you this, because you're better with these numbers than I am. Does it move the needle at all if, let's say, we beat Kentucky by 21 points?
I think it does, and I've been saying that for a bit. I mean, that's what's helping Utah right now.
Okay.
Utah's been getting some lopsided wins. You saw Miami jump up after a lopsided win over a very pedestrian NCAA State. See, I think, first of all, if they get 2 more wins, they're going to be 2 quality wins. And the Tennessee win in Knoxville is going to be a very good win. And if you win those games decisively, see that's when I think you could see them shoot up a little bit more. Yeah. I don't think that's off the table.
And not that this matters, it may not, but Hunter Yurachek, who's head of the committee, worked at Vanderbilt, and he has a soft spot in his heart for Vanderbilt. I can tell you that for sure because I stay in touch with Hunter.
Yeah. You know the team that I think got screwed last night?
Who's that?
I think it was Alabama.
Oh, yeah, going from 4 to 10?
And I still think I still would have put Alabama in ahead of SMU a year ago. This is, again, it is that the thing that continues to be on display is if you play a brutal schedule, I mean, it starts stacking up wins who these teams beat. Like, it's not close. Yeah. We just went through with Vanderbilt. Like, you stack up Vanderbilt's best wins against Utah's, Vanderbilt's better. You did that with an SEC school against just about anybody. The league is always going to come on top. It's the emphasis on that loss that just kills you. And like you put, what's Vanderbilt in the Big 12 this year? 11-1.
Look, the Alabama game Saturday was why it is the same thing that we lost to Alabama by.
Yeah,
4 turnovers, and Oklahoma had 1. So the turnover battle was what beat them. There's no question. They outgained them by what, 200 yards or something. So it was turnover, just like when we played at Alabama. That was a 1-score game without our turnover.
Yeah. But just the probability that you're going to run up against one of those days just gets so much infinitely
going to happen.
When you play, I just think there's a part of that the week in and week out that you just cannot. It's hard to quantify in this league against the others. And you know what? To be fair, that also is true in the Big Ten if you get one of the top heavy schedules. Now, if you don't, it's a different story. But like, Wisconsin, for instance, I remember looking at them like, man, they got like before the season, like every team that was picked to be in the top half of the Big Ten was on their schedule. Like that's part of it. And you know what? The SEC has got to take some blame for that. I mean, they did put themselves in this position a little bit.
Well, let's look at next year. It's going to really be unbalanced and unfair now because you're going to 9 SEC games.
Yep.
You've got to play a Power 4 team, and half the league's going to get 5 home games while the other half gets 4. That's that's not even, you can't even, you'd almost need to split it in divisions. Whoever wins that has the 4 home games, whoever wins the most should be up there. Let's say they only win 9, they should be better off than a team that won 10 because they got 5 home games. That's just, I don't like the unbalanced schedule at all. I
don't either.
It's going to hurt the league big time, I think.
Well, and the other misstep was 5 conference champions get bids automatically. That was a big mistake. It should have been okay if you win the conference and you're ranked in our top 25 or whatever. And even then, like, there's a lot of one-loss teams from some of these leagues that aren't top 25 teams. But because you lost one game, people feel obliged to rank you there. Well, I mean, Virginia may end up with one loss. Virginia is no way, shape, or form a top 25 team.
No. And you take the group of 5. I mean, there's no one in that group. There's been years like when Boise State was really good or whatever. There's no one in that that's going to win against the number 4. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That game is, it's a layup for somebody.
Yeah. I mean, I guess your rooting guide this weekend.
Missouri.
Yeah. If Cincinnati can handle BYU in Cincinnati, Cincinnati just got clocked by, I think, Utah. And maybe lose. I can't remember if health is an issue there. That's one you absolutely keep your eye on.
I think
Missouri to beat Oklahoma would be a big one.
Excuse me. I think Cincinnati's missing either 2 or 3 offensive linemen.
Okay. Not great.
They were out last week.
I don't know if Virginia Tech's got anything for Miami. Feels unlikely.
Probably not.
Same thing with Maryland and Michigan. That is a road game. I mean, I think Michigan's going to get put out by Ohio State next week, but 4 years in a row, Michigan's won that game. So don't count your chickens there. You could rest a little easier with that one. And I don't think Texas is getting in, but just in case, man, Arkansas has been right there with everybody. Arkansas has got a chance to do a thing, but that's in Austin where Texas is much better. Here's a question I've got for you. Do you want Tennessee to beat Florida this weekend? Because that one, you can make an argument either way.
Well, in my heart, of course not. But, if they do win, I think two things happen. It does help us right now, but I think them play better. If they lose to Florida, they may not have enough players to play against it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you may have fans that aren't as engaged showing up.
Now, the place out and all that, they're talking about that, which whatever. But I want Florida to win, but for us, it's better if Tennessee wins.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of Virginia Tech, note in here on James Franklin, we'll get to some of these in a minute. It says, I watched the Franklin presser this morning. He's meeting the team today. They're hosting 40 recruits already this weekend. I think they pull an upset on Miami. I'm not so sure about that, but is he actively coaching the team already?
Listen, James hits the ground running, buddy. I know.
Well, that's true. I've said that for a long time. Like, somebody could conceivably hire him and have him hands-on coaching the team. Now, I don't know how you do that in a few days, but that's interesting.
I don't know legally what he can do. Can he just be in the press box, or can he be on the sidelines? I don't know. But I promise you this, he's doing everything he can right now he's already deciding whether he's going to get rid of the trainer or the strength coach. All that's going on. Yeah.
That would be ironic if James Franklin had a hand in getting Vanderbilt in the playoff.
Hey, he might.
You never know.
It's interesting too. They just hired a James Franklin protege. Just fired a James Franklin protege in Brent Pry.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. And I was listening to, I think Pete Thamel talk about this morning on the ESPN podcast. This is where that could become a real thing. Like, same systems and stuff like that might be a little bit of a plug and play where he can come in there and have. I hadn't thought of that until now, but yeah.
You just now said it, but you're right. And another thing, and now he can't do it. It's not realistic, but I promise you, if this had not been the situation, he would hire Brent Pry again in a heartbeat to run his defense.
Well, I mean, and James, he's going to hit the ground running, doing radio, begging people to show up at games. I mean, you might have a scenario where you get a Virginia Tech team and a fan base that's kind of energized. Now, I don't know if they got enough players to do it. I mean, they certainly felt that way for the Vanderbilt game. It didn't matter in the end. Although, again, they did play well the first half, and then second half, when it became obvious who the better team was, they kind of folded. So I don't know what response that they give, but it's kind of fascinating to think about.
I will tell you this, a little insight on James Franklin when he got to Vanderbilt in 2011, and I had my first meeting with him, and he showed me a notebook that he had with "This is how we do it." It was it's as thick as the old Britannica encyclopedias were. And I'm sure now everything's electronic, but I promise you, he's going down that laundry list right now of everything from what the ushers wear.
Yep.
He doesn't miss a trick.
Well, let's be fair. Neither of us care for him,
right?
For our own ethically based reasons, but there's a lot about James that I do respect as a coach. I mean, the work ethic and the attention to detail. There are not a lot of guys out there that can match him there, and that's why they won here.
No, there's no question about it. James knows how to get it, to squeeze it out of you.
Yes.
And I will tell you this, when he was at Vanderbilt, he did not play favorites to anybody. I don't care what you were before he got there. I don't care what, I play this position. No, you play what position I tell you to play. There was that's why a few guys left. That happens everywhere. But James is thorough. He's very, very thorough. Stuff that you would not think he's thinking about, he is.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about Kentucky. We do have a question for that in the mailbag. So I say we just get to that and hit it there.
Sounds good.
let's see if there's a question about basketball. Let's circle back to basketball after the mailbag. Keep it football because I don't see any questions there, but I did want to hit that for a minute.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Okay. The mailbag is brought to you by Sutherland and Belk, a family-owned injury law firm. If you or a loved one has been hurt in an accident, give Taylor or Russell a call, 615-846-6200. You'd think I would know that number by heart by now. See what your rights are and if they can help. Longest running sponsor of the show. I really appreciate what they do. Guest line presented by John Levin and Womble Bond Dickinson. Also game and packaging systems leaders in end-to-line packaging automation. Those guys are friends of the show and they appreciate it. By the way, pitch for stuff here. This is my facilities request. If you are willing to jump in and be a sponsor at this point, the funding is going to go into the product, not into my pocket. I don't know that I've always made that clear when I've kind of pled for these things. I do have look, I got bills to pay for my kids too, but I've got some investment in mind to better the product. So if you are interested, reach out to me, chrislee70@gmail.com. Appreciate those who have. I mean, that's played a big role in what we can or can't do. Price of everything has gone up in the last few years. The resources I've had to work with just have not. So it's been an issue. All right, let's get to you hit this earlier, but I'll let you answer it here. Bring back Joe Fisher. What specific new facilities does Clark want in the immediate future, and how willing is Daniel Diermeyer to fund them?
Yeah, I was talking about it earlier. The two things that definitely get done is the dining hall for football and then the weight room. Again, I don't know how the weight room will be constructed or where. I have my ideas of what they would want. I think you want something like very similar to Alabama's where it opens up onto the practice field somehow with giant garage door type things. But how that's going to work, I don't know. You could also go up, and that's all you can do. A lot of times is just go up. You can't go out.
Yeah. Bapa 82. Do you know or believe Vanderbilt's extended Coach Clark Lea? I think we hit that. I think the belief is it's if it's not final, it's close.
Yeah, I mean something drastic would have to happen. They'd have to pull back something, or I think it's just details now.
Yeah. Mr. Peabody, what concerns you most about Kentucky?
Just the way they're playing as a team, period. That quarterback, Cutterbola, is playing really well now, playing the best he's played all year. After the Tennessee game, they've played really well. And offensively, they played well in that game. I think they scored 34 points. But their defense has come back to life. They've gotten a couple kids back in a corner who was out for the Tennessee game. So that's helped them a little bit. I just think the way they're playing now is my biggest worry.
Yeah, the defense has been very, very good for the last 5 games. The one that it was not was Tennessee.
Hey, Chris, how many games have we said that? Where the other team's defenses are good? Everybody's. It just seems like everybody we play has had good defenses.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That's another thing I think people are missing on the Pavia discussions. Like, if I'm voting for Player of the Year today, I'm voting for him. If I'm voting for Heisman, I don't know if I'm voting for him or not. Player of the Year in the SEC. If I'm voting for Heisman, I don't know. I would have to look at everybody else. But, like, man, they are playing some defenses, man. They have played Missouri, LSU, Alabama. Who am I forgetting? Auburn. I mean, those are all top 15 defenses in the country.
We put 22 more points on Auburn than had been scored on them all year.
Yeah. South Carolina's defense is fairly good, other than the second half last week. But
the other thing too that's unfair to Diego is people don't even acknowledge how much rushing he does. He's rushed for 600 yards.
Yeah, why are quarterback rushing stats irrelevant? I don't get that. We compare passing stats, and then that's why they're scoring so many points. Is what he does on third down.
Look, he's as far as players in the SEC, and I've seen every one of them by now at quarterback. I'd take him. If you're lining them up and we're picking them 1, 2, 3, I would take him, no doubt.
I mean, who would you definitively pick ahead of him in the SEC for Player of the Year?
As a player or as a quarterback?
As a player. I mean, I can't think of anybody like the Lacey kid at Ole Miss is having a great season. Mott Hardy at Missouri's run for 300.
Hardy's the best running back I've seen this year.
Yeah, he's great. If you want to look defense, Cassius Howell's had a lot of sacks for A&M, I think. There's some Oklahoma's got some good players, but like the defender never wins that award.
No.
They have a separate defensive player of the year, but I mean, I just don't know. I mean, Gunnar Stockton's done a lot to help his team win. I think Ty Simpson's kind of faded from the conversation. There's Marcel Reed. But I mean, Marcel Reed was awful the first half of that Carolina game.
Yeah.
And the kid at Ole Miss, but he didn't start the year as a starter, and like he's had big issues with intermediate throws.
Here's my question, Chris. Would you take any of the other 15 quarterbacks, put them on Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt be 8-2?
No.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. No, and that's a little bit of a trick question because it's a system that's a little different. It was built around him, but
right.
But no, I would not. All right, next up, where is Vanderbilt behind in facilities other than the stadium? This was Steve VU98. I mean, dining hall would be one, weight room would be another. Lack of accessible indoor practice facility would be another. Is there anything else outside of those things?
Well, office space, and this is not critical because it's just inconvenience really, but the office space, now that you have 55 and 60 people working in football, I mean, they got to have more room.
Yeah.
Everybody's bumped up against each other. I think you need that. But I will say this. I've seen the facilities in the stadium now, the visiting locker room, the home locker room, best in the conference. There's nothing.
Really?
Oh, the visiting locker room now is amazing. I mean,
go ahead. I'll let you finish. I'm sorry.
Visiting locker room now, and I'm not comparing it to what the other one was because the other one was not good. The visiting locker room now, and I'm talking about the ones that I went to for all those years. Now, there may be a couple that have changed since I've left, but probably not many. It's by far the best. Alabama was probably second, or Arkansas was really nice. But besides that, none of the others can touch it.
Yeah. I mean, you hear like somebody paints the visitors' locker room pink and stuff like that. See, I think this is a smart move with the portal being such a big thing. Make an impression on the people in there, the locker room. I mean, and that could include assistant coaches too. So.
Look, let me explain something too, folks. When you go on the road, you try to make it as close to what you do at home in every aspect. And it makes it tough when you go to a Tennessee or an Ole Miss where the visiting locker rooms are awful. They're awful. And it's tough because sometimes you have to dress them at the hotel, some of the guys, not the players, but coaches and staff. At Vanderbilt now, you've got their own separate training room. You have your own coach's room that you could fit comfortably 40 guys in, and you've got like 75 lockers where you're only able to bring 72 players on the road. So I mean, It's really not, and it's spacious.
All right, we got a Jared Curtis question, and boy, has that been a hot topic. Got two of them actually. Robbie Weinstein said something on our board about their chances. I mean, this is what I hear. Okay. Vanderbilt feels good about it for its reasons, but I think Georgia does too. I just don't know. Well, I say that. I haven't checked on that one lately, but I mean, seems to be a lot of confidence at Georgia this fall that he was coming even despite this. I mean, I think in this situation, I'm sure coaching staffs get told what they need to hear in the moment. I have to think that's a factor.
Here's my thing. Does Jared Curtis want to play right away? Does Jared Curtis want a red shirt?
Yeah, because that's the thing.
That's the thing.
If Jared Curtis wants to play next year, he walks in as the starting quarterback, barring something weird.
Yep. No doubt about it. And I don't know the kid real well, but I know a lot of people around him, including his head coach and other people. And I know his family situation pretty good. The mother, I think, is a big Georgia fan.
Okay.
But I don't think, and I know this because of someone who worked with him, I don't think Mike Bobo is the kind of guy you want to be around with all day. Does that make sense? He's just a pleasant guy to work with.
Well, Georgia's recruiting a lot of elite quarterbacks in future classes too.
Yeah, 5 stars, absolutely.
Plus, Gunnar Stockton's going nowhere next year.
Right. This situation reminds me of, do you remember a few years back, maybe when Kirby Smart first got there, who was the big 5-star kid that transferred to Washington? Remember, he was a can't miss kind of kid, and he wound up being the backup at Georgia. This was when Kirby
Washington.
I think he transferred to University.
Are you thinking about the kid from Wake Forest?
No. This kid.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but anyway, it reminds me of that situation. I think Jerry can find himself in if he winds up going to Georgia, where he doesn't play. And they think he's going to play as a sophomore, and then they recruit a couple other kids, and he winds up not getting to play, period, and has to transfer.
Yeah. Vandy Nutt, is there a chance Humphreys wants to come home? I guess that's London Humphreys. I've not heard that speculated,
No.
but I haven't been looking for it either.
No, never. I haven't heard any rumblings about that at all.
I mean, he caught a big ball or two against Texas.
Yeah, I mean, they spot him in at times. They use tight end stuff like we do. The lucky Delp. Yeah,
Denver Door wants to know, is it more necessary to win convincingly the next 2 weeks to change the perception of Vanderbilt? Feel like a 1-score win over Kentucky won't move the needle. Might need to win by 2 or 3 scores to get some attention on Vanderbilt. I mean, I think there may be something there.
Yeah, that's what I asked you, and you did think that, and I do too. I do think if you just win on the road in Knoxville, it's helpful.
Yeah.
Period, whatever the score is.
Let me see if that's everything from the mailbag at 24/7. Looks like that is. We got a couple things in the chat I'll hit. Let me lock the thread there so that nobody has a question unanswered and feels bad about it. Okay. Let me go back to the top of the chat. Vandy Chris 24 with Greg Sankey go to war for Vanderbilt if we finish 10-2 and don't get in. I get the feeling he won't. I don't know why he wouldn't.
I mean, it's an SEC school. You'd think he'd go to bat for all 16.
Sure. Missouri beats Oklahoma. How does that impact the Doors? I mean, considerably. Probably knocks Oklahoma out of the playoffs and then gives you a better win.
Look, the SEC is getting 5 max, so we got to have Oklahoma lose or Alabama lose to Auburn.
Yeah. Let's see. I think we've hit everything here. Let's talk hoops. Not the best performance Saturday, but Vanderbilt was kind of due for one of those. I'm looking forward to the schedule getting more challenging starting next week. That's for sure.
Well, I think offensively we're going to be really, really good. Now, my biggest question, of course, now Frankie Collins didn't play against Pine Bluff. I think that may have had a little bit to do with the margin, although we still won by 30 or close to it.
Yeah.
I just think the inside defensively and a little bit of rebounding that we need to get from Jalen Washington and whatever Nicholson gets back, we've got to have somebody else help Devin on the boards.
Yeah.
Got to be somebody else emerge because there's a few teams in the SEC we don't match up with inside. But besides, I think this team is going to be really good. Better than last year.
Yeah, I'm interested to see Nicholson get back and how big of an impact that makes when he's 100%.
Yeah.
But I mean, man, they've got 7 guys. They got 5 guys averaging double figures and 2 other guys that are 9.5 or so.
That's how you win. There's no doubt. what Edwards did for us offensively was great, but you don't need a kid that's 6 foot having to be the guy taking the shot every time at the end of the game just because of his size. You need guys where you can look at 3 or 4 different directions. I'll tell you a kid who I'm going to predict will probably hit more game-winning shots for us than anybody, and that's Duke Miles.
Yeah,
I think
really like him.
He's a complete player, and I put the ball in his hands and to kick it for an open 3 or to get to the rim himself, and he finishes well as also.
Yeah. Gosh, next week they've got Western Kentucky. Let's see who else they've got in that tournament.
Is BYU?
Maybe.
I thought they were. I haven't looked at it in a while.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be. Be a good.
They got that AJ Banta.
Yeah, it'd be a good test.
Okay. If somebody's got the schedule, throw it in the chat. I'm on the website and it's not pulling up a bracket.
Looking at while you're doing that, I was looking at a couple other teams and teams that may not be great or aren't yet. I think Texas A&M is struggling. I think was it Central Florida beat them handily that we beat?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a pointer. And then I'm not really impressed with South Carolina, even though they're 4-0. I don't see them being great. I like the fact that we open the season early, play them early before they do hit a stride, if they do hit a stride. It's going to be a great year. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, Kentucky's got issues already with health, and I don't think it's going to be what Kentucky expected to be. I have some questions about Florida's guard play. Need to see them a little bit more. I mean, I think Vanderbilt's got a chance to be as good as anybody, honestly.
And I think in KenPom right now they're ranked 13th, which is
right.
Equates to 4th in the league right now.
Yeah, and it's pretty close between them and the others. Okay, VCU South Florida is the second game, and then some combination of Colorado State, Virginia Tech, St. Mary's, Wichita State.
It was VCU, not BYU.
Okay, yeah. So there you go. I mean, that's a step up from what they've had.
Yeah, and they need that. They've also got later on Wake Forest, and I think, is it SMU at home? Maybe.
Yeah. Wake and Memphis on the road, SMU at home. So it does get better. The attendance has been a talking point, but Mark's gonna have to schedule better.
Well, and look, I don't have a problem with he and Shea Ralph calling it out, but they have to understand something. They're going to be there if you just keep winning. Just hang on. They'll be there. And for the first time in a while, there's so much excitement over football.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're waiting till football's over to get into basketball. There's so much going on. I don't have a problem with 5,000 or 6,000. I know how many season tickets they sold, so I know that's what it'll be when the SEC starts.
Well, for forever, they used to have really great non-conference schedules. Kevin Stallings was good about it. Bryce Drew was good about it.
Yeah.
It felt like you got an Iowa State or a Kansas State at a minimum, a Wake Forest. It felt like you would have 2, 3, maybe 4 NCAA tournament level teams come in here in the winter. And now it's like the underbelly of the SWAC lately.
Let me give a defense to Coach Byington on that. When you have a whole new team now, it used to be you knew what your team was coming back, so you could schedule accordingly. Now you've got 3 guys coming back off the team, so you don't know what you have. So it's probably a little better to schedule light early, so it gives you more time to mesh.
Yeah, and I mean you do some of that, but like last year, gosh, who did they even play that was worth anything out of the league at home?
Well, at home, we started the season in that tournament in Charleston, College of Charleston, and we played Seton Hall and Drake. Remember, Drake was our only loss for a while. And I forget who else was in that tournament, but it was a good tournament. Miami, Oklahoma State was there. So I think you'll see it pick up after we go to the Bahamas. Is that where we're going?
Yeah. I'm trying to find the schedule. See, and the thing is, all those games were neutral site games. They weren't home games.
Right. Yeah, I remember when Will and Goheen and those guys here, we had an incredible.
They played everybody.
We had Indiana, North Carolina. I mean, it was almost too ambitious, but we wound up.
Right. Well, that's what ended up getting them in the tournament, the strength of schedules, and also you're battle tested by the time you get around to those games.
Yeah.
I don't understand why it's so hard to pull up a simple basketball schedule on the internet these days.
Yeah, the other non-conference games are not much. I think they play New Haven right before the conference season starts.
Yeah. Okay. Last year, I mean, Cal, okay. They weren't any good. Virginia Tech, that was there. They played TCU in Fort Worth. So, yeah, I mean, they didn't play anybody. Gosh, at one point, didn't they have a return game with TCU this year?
I think that's next year.
Yeah, I know that was, anyway, whatchamacallit, downtown.
Right.
Trace wants to know, we'll be on site to cover the tournament. Buddy, I wish we would be on site to cover the tournament. But that's not, actually, I'll be in Loveland, Colorado with my in-laws. So watching that from TV with an 11-year-old by my side for sure. Anything else, Luke?
No, I think if we show up and do what I hope and think we'll do, I think we're a 9.5 point favorite right now. I don't know if that's changed. I like the fact that that's where Vegas has set the line, because I think a lot of people will take Kentucky knowing that Vanderbilt usually only wins by one score. So I think they may know a little something there.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to it, and looking forward to next week where we've got a lot, maybe a whole lot to talk about.
Let's hope so.
All right. Hey, thanks for joining me, Luke.
You bet. You have a great day.
All right. Thanks to our sponsors. They help make the podcast possible. Always looking for more opportunities. Again, email me, chrislee70@gmail.com. Subscribe to Vandy 24/7. If you haven't, that's about $99 a year. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's free, where you get your podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating review. That helps us get noticed. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. God bless you. You've been watching the Vandy 24/7 podcast presented by FanDuel.